grab some popcorn, grab your goat, grab something to drink. It is time for the Witches Movie Coven. Yay! We still have to come up with an opening. Hi, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I am Patti Negri. We are witches. This is the Witches Movie Coven, where every Wednesday at this time of day or evening, we talk about witches and witches in movie. Let me introduce you to my beautiful co-host. We have the lovely Heather Greene here in the lower quadrant, witch, author, all-around amazing girl, haunted doll girl, and the author of the definitive book on witches in movies. This is Courtney Buckley over here. She cries. And this is Richard-Lael Lillard. He disagrees with us. And
oftentimes I do. I oftentimes do.
And missing today is Jason Mankey because he's hiking somewhere in the woods and we couldn't reach him again. But he will be back next week.
Or maybe he just watched this film and didn't want to give a review.
Maybe he watched this film and didn't want to give a review. Or maybe he's hiking in the woods somewhere. So you guys, we are watching you in the chat room. We want your opinions. We want your thoughts. We want your comments and everything. We just are so excited that this is live. So this week's movie is The Last Keepers. I had never seen it before. I was not expecting a lot. I'm not going to give it away yet, but Heather, do you want to tell us a little bit about the facts upon this movie?
Well, I gave you a little context. First of all, it's got some really great actors in it. But, you know, it is kind of a movie that is overlooked. And I'm not going to let Richard-Lael comment on that. Right at the moment, anyway. It's a movie that's often overlooked. And when I started working on my book and I found it, I said, wow, you know, from a witchcraft movie perspective, this movie is notable. You know, and often I'll say a movie that is not well known or is not even a good movie is notable in witchcraft films, which is different than a broader discussion on movies in general. This movie is very typical. There's a lot of canned elements in it. For example, it's got the standard boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back. It's a very classic teen movie in that way. But there's elements in it, especially the there's other things that are a little bit canned as well. But there's elements in it when it comes to witchcraft and the presentation of paganism that are unusual and different and uplifting that make this movie notable in terms of witchcraft films. Now, in terms of context, if you've read my book or if you've heard me talk here a lot, is that by around 2000, 2005 or so, a lot of the witchcraft movies really started to gear towards teens, either for teens or about teens. And so that continues almost exclusively through to today. It's the witchcraft movies prior to that. A lot of them were for adults, especially in the golden era, horror movies, etc. But really, we get a lot of teen witchcraft films going on. And this one fits into that category, but it's an anomaly. It doesn't really, there's nothing that was made at this period of time that's like this. Most of the 2013, 14 witch films, which there were a lot of them at this time, were darker. They were dark, think of horror, American Story Horror. Help me out here, guys. American Horror Story Coven. There we go. And Salem. And eventually we have Sabrina and the Chilling Adventures. Most witchcraft films from this era, 2010 to 2020, were darker, were twisted. Were twists. When I say twisted, I don't mean wrong. I mean twisted stories of things we knew. Fractured fairy tales. So this is a little different. It's uplifting. It's light. It has a very different take, and it's an anomaly, as I said. So that's what I want to present to start us out. It's got, of course, Olympia Dukakis and Aiden Quinn in it, who, you know, just so nice to watch. So I will stop there and let everybody give their opinions.
Well, I think would you like me? I want to tell the story. I want to tell the story. Is that okay?
Oh God.
Oh my goodness. Well, yes. Patti.
So here's the story of The Last Keepers. a young woman who is going through her changes that naturally occurs. She comes from an artistic family with secrets. She falls in love with a boy at school. And then, of course, she discovers that she hates her family, so she puts on lipstick. And then she decides it's okay to be a witch and that she can actually heal the world. Roll credits, the end. That's the story.
There is so much more to it than that.
It's so saccharine sweet, I tell you. It is so saccharine. I rolled my eyes so much I saw my brain.
There it is.
Oh my god!
It is not. It is very much a. So it's kind of like there's a movie called Teen Witch from 1988 that's very much steeped in the satanic era. We can probably talk about that at some point. It's canned. I mean, you really have, you could write out the scenes. This is not the story itself is not new.
I felt like I was watching Hallmark, the Hallmark channel on Christmas.
It's not that bad. No, it's
yes.
No,
Hold
it's
on.
not. No.
I have to step in here.
No.
That is exactly what I thought. But I love Hallmark movies at Christmas.
Me too.
And I don't like Hallmark movies, and I don't think this one. I think this one is better than a Hallmark movie.
I think this one is so much better than a Hallmark, but I have an understanding and love for Hallmark movies. But this one, even the can part was a can I like. You know, it's a good can of soup, a good can of movie. Even if you know what's going to happen, it was. I mean, in this crazy world and everything that we watch, to have something feel really good. Yes, it had the coming of age. Yes, it has the girl with her boy, but it was amazing. And I thought it's one of the best in portraying witchcraft and the family in like kind of subtle ways in some of it and not subtle in others. And they're typical teen boys. It just made my heart smile from beginning to end, except the little part when they showed all the things that were happening in the world, like the polar bears melting and stuff. Bawled my eyes out. That was really hard, but that was important because you had to see this girl has to have this baby and save the world. I had never seen it. I was not expecting a lot. These are some of my favorite people. I love Aiden Quinn. I love Olympia Dukakis. I love Virginia Madsen.
Yeah.
I thought all the kids did really great, whoever they were. And I got involved with it from the very first second. And it was however long a movie it was, hour, 2 hours of happy, of joy, of entertainment. What's to not love?
Well, this is what I don't understand. She's being haunted by the 8-year-old ghost of Betty White.
Wait,
why?
I wrote down the second note I wrote down on my notepad. Literally, the first one was the second the movie started. I wrote down, "Oh God, oh good, my favorite scene," because you guys know how much I love the Salem witch trial burnings, right?
Yeah, burning witches.
And then the next line is in all capital letters, "the wig." I was like, I can't watch this. Just the wig. And every time that wig made an appearance, I was like, "No, I'm completely out of this. I can't." It was so good. It was like baby Betty White.
Yeah,
she was a special child. She had to stand out
with a really bad wig.
It was a really bad wig.
A really bad wig and a polyester dress for $16.92.
Now, see, the thing is, I get both sides here because when I was going into this movie, like reading the synopsis, I thought it gave me practical magic vibes, and I love practical magic, so I thought, okay, great. Then the movie starts, and it starts on my favorite scene. Immediately, I was like, great. Like, this is going to be terrible. I'm not going to be able to sit through this, whatever. And then it was so painfully cringy for so much of the movie that I was like, but like physically having to like look away. Like I can't make eye contact with these characters because I'm so embarrassed for them for how they're behaving. But somewhere along the line, like my love of like not great movies, I think sucked me in. And then I started to love it. And then at the scene, it was the scene, you know, she has her Sandra Dee moment where she puts on the lipstick and she goes to school. And I was like, okay, here we go. But then the accident scene was, I think that turned it around entirely for me. Like, I held my breath that whole scene, and I think that was done so well. Like, I liked that there was no, I thought I was channeling my inner Snape. There was no silly incantations or wand waving in this movie. It was just her and her power, and then that became really, really powerful in that scene. So my whole perspective on this changed at that scene, and then by the end I was sobbing, a sobbing hysterical mess because it was beautiful and I loved it.
Rob has a picture of that, I think.
Well, you know what? I think there's a lot of the canned things that we're talking about. You have the boy meets girl story, the standard without the magic. We see that over and over again, right? So that is definitely part of the easy hokey whatever, if you like it or you don't like it. You also have the canned story of the teenage girl witch, which is Carrie, which is The Craft, which is so many witch movies have that teenage girl who doesn't know Sabrina. She doesn't know she's a witch. She learns her magical powers, and there's so many and I was writing out the canned moments in my notepad. I'm like, here we go, this scene. Here we go, this scene, because it is canned. But what I love about this movie, and when I do lectures and talk about witchcraft movies, I'm always asked, what movie portrays witchcraft or pagans, specifically pagans, let's say, in the most realistic way? And this is one of the ones that's top, because what you're seeing is a family of artists, creative people. They're not doing the magic, even though there's some sensational aspects of it. It's not super sensational. It's not over the top, where, like you see in The Craft, for example, towards the end. You also don't see, you have a movie that is positive about paganism, specifically as it's linked to nature worship, which is not something usual you see. Most witchcraft movies talk about witchcraft and the magic. They focus on that. They don't, or you get satanic stuff, or you get whatever. You don't often get it linked like this to nature-based practice, to family-based practice. Even practical magic didn't go this far, you know. So the focus is more on the spiritual and the connection to nature than it is on the magic itself. So it's a very unique thing. So I'll say this movie and people go, what are you talking about? Most people have never seen this movie. Yes, it's a little movie. Is it perfect? No, I think there's a couple weird, like the blue bird thing that flies through, a little strange. There's the girl with the weird wig. Yes, it's not perfect, but it has this presentation of witchcraft and I'm going to be honest, when I look at this family, I'm like, that's my family, and I can relate to, and this is what I teared to. I was tearing up throughout the movie, Courtney. I teared up because I can feel the young girl and her struggle, you know, what she's going through at her life. But then I can also, and I have a daughter that's her age, so I also can see that human struggle that they have raising the daughter. And I have a family of artists. So I'm like, that's my family. That's my family. And at some point I might be able to relate deeply to Olympia Dukakis' character. So there's so much going on here that I relate to. Oh my goodness. What was the quote that made me cry? I wrote it down because I wanted to share it with you. She says, she comes out.
Oh my God, that was a jump scare. Oh my God.
Jump scare. Crying. But when Olympia Dukakis comes up to Rhea, and she comes up to the mom, and she puts her arms around it just before they're about to celebrate a Samhain, I believe. No, Mabon. It was around when they were about to celebrate Mabon. And she puts her arms around him. She says, "You are my harvest." And she puts her arm around it. I was done. Crying.
I have to
You are my harvest. The grandmother says to the daughter and granddaughter, "You are my harvest." I lost it.
I love that we got that scene too, because I feel like, and I think Haley touched on it a little bit too in her comment, practical magic focused on the curse, you know, but they did practice it correctly. I feel like this movie gave us, this is just the normal way that this family celebrates. When they said their like blessings around the table, when they went, like, I connected with that so much because I wish that that's what I had, you know, not that I mean,
Right.
in a perfect world, that's what I would have had. But like, you know, it is what it is. But it was so cool to see that as like a normal practice in their life, and not it being like the thing that the solution to the problem or whatever else. It was just like, here's how what this family does at 6 o'clock at night. And I just thought that was really, really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I found the human aspect too, even though it's no secret I didn't like the film. There was a human aspect that I, as an outsider myself, I completely get it. I was teased in high school. I was. It's just a nature of the beast. And then also the family had generational trauma. They would hide during Samhain. They would hide so that, because the outsiders would bring trouble and harassment and pain and death, and they just sort of kept themselves. They just don't look at me. I'll do what I do. Just don't look at me. So I understand that aspect as well.
And that's a hallmark, not to use it in the way we were just using it, but that's a hallmark of witchcraft, witchcraft movies, witchcraft teen movies. Think of Carrie, think of Teen Witch. It's always, and all of those spin-offs of Carrie, it's always this, they always start the scene. They always start a high school scene with the outsider girl. For some reason, she's something about her that's different. In this case, she was wearing a dress made of trash,
recycled plastic bags,
which I thought was brilliant. I mean,
it was a very she's all that scenario.
Yeah.
And I would like to say something, and everybody screen record this, because I will never say it again, and I'll lie under oath. This movie made me feel like I wanted to fall in love. And then I came to my senses afterwards, and I realized that was not a good choice for me. But in the moment, I thought how romantic it was, and it like gave my little heart flutters, as it reminded me of what it felt like to be 16, 17 and have a crush on a boy at school or a girl at school or whoever. But like for a hot second there, I was like, oh, like maybe I could do that. No. And then I came to my senses. But it made me, we always say a good movie makes you feel something. Not only did this one make me cry, it made me feel, my heart feel things. And I didn't like that part.
Coming to your senses isn't always the right thing to do, Courtney.
That's good advice.
Coming to your senses is often not right.
We need that on a t-shirt.
That's a good
Coming to your senses is not always good advice. I love that, Patti.
And but you mentioned it, Heather, that they were artists, because look at all the witches we know, and we all know witches. We're all artists. Not saying we can't be the banker or the whatever, the day job thing, but we're all very different. We're a different clan that goes into this.
Yeah.
And I love how they portrayed that, the gallery and everything.
Yeah. I think, I'm a Pisces moon, and for anyone that knows astrology knows that I get suckered into anything that's going to be romantic. I'm a diehard, so you know.
I am secretly, I like the Hallmark. I live my life. I watch those stupid Christmas movies in the middle of July. One of my favorite ones, she falls in love with a ghost, but I do that under the cover of darkness while I wear black and I don't leave my house.
Well, I think this was a really, I really still believe that this is one of the best portrayals of witches and pagans, because it is positive. They aren't doing sensational stuff, and it does show a family. It's just a family doing their stuff. It could be anybody, and they do these things. It's not a portrayal of witches and magic. It's a portrayal of paganism and pagans and witchy pagans. And that's a very different thing. And and that nature connection, the environmental statement goes a little over the top. I don't like it when they hammer in an environmental statement, but you could do it without as direct of a message as this one did. So like I said, it's not a perfect film. But it was a trend through the 2000s into 2015 to think of Happy Feet and Avatar and all these movies really having this environmental theme. But I liked how they chose this environmental theme and added the paganism to it as a natural as a natural thing. Another different thing about this one in witch movies, which I'll bring up here because we can talk about.
Which movie?
I'm sorry. This
Which
movie.
movie?
Oh,
Which
there's
movie?
another. Come on, Richard-Lael. Okay, you're gonna get me while I'm talking, and I don't get the jokes. Anyway, so the other good thing about this movie that's interesting is that usually you have the prophecy of the one. This is not something you typically see in coming of age stories with girls. You don't see it in Carrie or Teen Witch. Those teen witches are usually independent single stories, you know. Most of the time when you have prophecies of the one that's going to save the planet, that's that level, it's usually a male witch or a male wizard. So that's an interesting little twist here. They pulled a little Harry Potter on us here. She doesn't have the Horcrux, but
I think that, like, I know they went hard on the environmental stuff, but I almost think it was important because if you think of, like, to go that hard, I mean, because if you think of, like, how absolute teenagers think, like, everything's the end of the world. One little thing goes wrong at school, my whole world is falling apart, like, all of that. And I think that if we didn't see her feel that passionately about it, then when she had her whole coming into her power moment, which I want to come back to in a second, but and then she had to make that choice that she was going to choose these gifts. She chose it. She said, I want to help. And I think if she didn't feel that passionately about it, with it being like hammered in our faces to show that, like, then she wouldn't have had enough motivation to choose that. But I don't know. But if I can, like, step back for a second, I know I talked about it a little bit, the accident scene. I love how that was silent and she was almost like in shock and just like automatically knew what to do. And we all know I'm a sucker for coming into your power moment, but this one felt different in a good way. It was, instead of her coming into her power, it was like she in that moment was making that choice. And so it was different than like her growing into it. It was her choosing to accept this within herself. And I think that that's one of the most powerful things that we can do as humans and as witches, is like, accept this within ourselves and then watch it blossom. So I thought that that was really well done and done differently than how I've connected with those scenes in other movies that we watched.
Yeah. And I agree wholeheartedly. I love that scene. And I didn't mind that they hit over the head with the environmental thing, because I just kind of think we need it. And you can't really hit hard enough because of stuff that's still going on this planet 10 years later. Even if I have to cry and close my eyes when they show a polar bear with no ice, let me do that, because somebody's got to hear it. So I don't mind putting that message into this at all.
Well, it definitely linked really nicely to the paganism aspect of it, because that's it gave a positive spin on this nature religion that exists that a lot of people demonize, or they spray witch in red paint across your dad's store.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought she was going to have that moment with the goat, though. Like, I knew that moment was coming with the healing, but I thought it was going to be with the goat on the truck hood.
Oh,
on the hood of the car.
Yeah. Black Phillip did not like that moment. He was very upset about
I blocked his eyes.
Okay.
I can't watch that part.
It was very rough.
Me too.
I can't look at it. No, thank you.
But so, this is a modern version of these teen movies that have been going on since the 70s. It's a modern spin. You go from, think about Carrie. We done Carrie. I'm not sure if we talked about Carrie or not, but we did do Carrie. So you have Carrie, where you have this troubled teen, different, who has a troubled childhood, different religion, who wants
different religion,
different religion, and but she has this troubled childhood trying to fit in. I mean, it's very canned, and you have that from the 70s, that horror that was very popular in the 70s. You have Teen Witch, if anyone hasn't seen it, or Midnight Offerings, much more about the magic itself, amulets. Midnight Offerings, there's actually chanting and various things that are very 70s in it. Teen Witch is all about the amulet, trying to fit in, the story of coming of age and coming to your power. She actually has to give up her power in order to continue to be a good person. Very satanic panic, very, very 80s. Of course, we have The Craft. You have a number of films then. And then you continue on. Here is the 13 or 14 version of it, where we've gone past, as a community of pagans and witches, we've become more accepted. Not only just witchcraft itself has become popular, not just tarot, but just paganism as a spirituality and a religion as a positive light in the world. And so you see that in this movie. That is one of the reasons I like this movie. And I bawl my eyes out when the two parents come together and they're like, we don't want to fight anymore. What are we going to do about this crazy teenager? I'm like, oh my goodness, that's my life.
Well, looking at the comments here, Haley just said, who wouldn't want a partner that supports these beliefs? That struck me as awesome. Not many people have this type of relationship. That's huge. Like, where the dad is not magical, but is participating in these rituals, is just fully, there's no question. Like, the gifts, there's no, like, they talk openly about everything, and it's just accepted. And I think that is beautiful. And I think that is something that we don't see a lot, because usually it's a secret and we're hiding and we're not, behind closed doors. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and we have to give Aiden Quinn a nods up here, a wands up for doing that in two different movies. He was supportive in Practical Magic of Witches then, and he's supportive in the Last Keepers of Aiden Quinn, the best witch dad.
Yeah,
he's accidentally fell in love with.
And on our friend Brandy that we love. Brandy is a pagan. She is earth-based, and she is married to someone who was from a completely different religion, and they have such a beautiful, understanding, wonderful relationship. And Ron he's so good with their kids, it's beautiful. It is, but it was not. I mean, my family was more Carrie than it was. That it was the Last Keeper. So I don't have that aspect to sort of. I don't have that.
I don't think a lot of people have the Last Keepers experience, or I think that's rare. And I grew up in a secular household. My dad is an artist, but my family is Jewish. But it was a progressive, but it wasn't like the Last Keepers. I want my house to be like the Last Keepers. I would love to have that. I hope that I can facilitate that for my children, that kind of experience. But I think it's very, very rare, Richard-Lael. I don't know. I can't imagine growing up like that either. It would be fantastic.
I would say so. I mean, again, my parents were great, but they were very strict religious, and Halloween was of the devil, and it was the height of the satanic panic in the 80s in the Midwest. So I don't know. I guess I have that disconnect.
Mm-hmm. I love all these stories in the comments of.
I do too.
With all these supportive partners. I love that for everyone. Not me though.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. Oh, I'm going to get
you. That's okay, Courtney. I'll be your partner.
Oh, Richard-Lael, I have you right here with me.
You do have the pillow there. You have him there all the time. Oh, there it goes.
I just threw him
down. Did it hurt? Did he hurt? Did he land on his bum?
He landed on something.
Yeah, I have my partner is not pagan, and he's very supportive. There he is. He's down. Richard-Lael fell on the floor.
It's my only fan. You can see it right there.
Yeah, my husband is not pagan, but he's very, very supportive. And I remember you had to work him into it early when we first met, because you can't just play. But I remember the first time that Carrie said, because I would make him these little potions and things for work and health and all this stuff. And I remember the very first time he said, when are you going to do that herb burning thing again? And I'm like, oh, okay. Okay, it's awesome.
Yeah, there's many Aiden Quinns out there, I think, that are supportive. And they come, and I was just at Mystic South, and we had 500 plus of our closest friends there, and it was fantastic. And there were people there that were not witches and pagans, that were just accompanying their friends and their spouses, and we actually had one woman who brought her mother, who was more like what you your sounds like more like what your parents were, Richard-Lael, and she came anyway to support her daughter. And she was amazed at the experience and felt really a lot of love and had positive things to say. So, it does exist. It's out there. And, we all can hope for that. But,
I mean, my husband is definitely not pagan. Oh, wait, I don't have one of those either. But I will tell you, speaking of men, I really love my men like I like my coffee, ground to bits and stored in the freezer.
Or like whiskey in a barrel aging.
Or like my tea stuffed in a bag and shoved underwater.
You and me, friend. You and me.
I am a diehard romantic. I can't.
I am too, but secretly. I have to. Just only secretly.
That's hysterical. I introduced my husband to Robert the Doll, and he told me what Ozzy Osbourne said, burn it. And I had to tell him, sorry, I had to read this one, Haley. I introduced my husband to Robert the Doll, and he told me that what Ozzy Osbourne said, burn it. I had to tell him to suck those words right back into his throat and say a prayer.
Yeah, I would do that with Robert the Doll for sure. Take those words back.
Take that back. Take that back. Yes.
Oh, I like what Lisa said. Respect for each other regardless is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's true. And my parents came from different worlds. My dad grew up on the West Coast in California, and he was raised Catholic. Eventually leaving that and becoming an atheist, marrying my mother, who was raised as in a conservative Jewish family on the East Coast. And so they had to figure that out because, I know her parents were not real amenable to the fact that she wasn't marrying a Jewish boy and, all this stuff. And they worked it out. And I grew up between those worlds, and I grew up in a place also that was about as diverse religiously and spiritually as you can get. There was, and in all ways, really. But I had friends that were practiced all kinds of religions, and we got along and we didn't care. And we learned that way. And so it is a beautiful thing. It is a very beautiful thing. But in this movie, we have Aiden Quinn doing it for a second time, which, I'm like,
I'm never going to complain about that because
never, ever.
He does it well.
He does it very well. With his little earring in this one.
I liked it. I saw it too.
Wait, I don't remember the earring. Is it in both side? Oh, wait, that's
I think he has one in both sides.
I remember.
Does he have it in both?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I can't see. It's too little.
In the 80s, it was a symbol if you were heterosexual or homosexual to wear one on. I don't remember now.
I remember it was left. I think it was left ear was you were heterosexual and right ear was homosexual. I think that's what it was.
It was his left ear. He had it in his left ear only in the movie.
Okay, there you go. Well, that was a thing, Richard-Lael. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
And I gathered I knew he didn't have the powers like the women, but I thought of him as a pagan because he had participated in things. They had the family stuff. He wasn't the magic powers, but I thought to me, it felt like he was a total believer in what they did and who they were by conversations and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think that no matter, but I feel like in the trope of the movie, you have the women and this is their whole generational thing and whatever else. So he's very clearly the outsider, but he fits right in, which is something that feels different. However it is that he does fit in, at least he's doing it and he's doing it well. And when he could not chop the wood with the axe, I was screaming, please.
He was so angry and upset at that point. You have to give him that. You got to give him
everything.
He couldn't grow plants. But he stood around and he did his shtick. It's all good. And he sat at the gallery with all the paintings. So,
but the plants part, he was so excited for his daughter, when she grew the plants that he couldn't wait to tell his wife about it. Oh my God, I think I figured out what her gift is. That's so cool that we don't get to see that in many movies that outside person is and even the boyfriend, the high school boyfriend saw her powers and didn't freak out and thought it was awesome.
And you know why he didn't freak out because he was known as the weird kid. He was friends with
Right.
The nerd.
the stereotypical
Yeah.
nerd. He was, which in high school vernacular, one does. If you're friends with a nerd, you
Yeah.
are the nerd.
Yeah, but
Yep.
he was awfully pretty to be the weird kid.
He was pretty. He was
Pretty
pretty to be a weird kid.
Usually you can, even if you know somebody weird, if you're that pretty in high school.
You're not the weird
Well,
kid. If
you
you're
know,
pretty.
he's
I know.
a stand-in for the classic like cool kid with the big heart. Like a lot of these movies have like the group of cool kids, and there's always one that has a big heart, and they're the one who changes and falls in love with the weird girl. You know, that's the typical. It's like what's is it? The actor with the curly blonde hair in Carrie, who's nice to Carrie. It's like the cool kid that is actually nice, that just hangs out because he plays on the football team, but he's actually good. So this is the stand-in for that, but he's actually weird. They don't like him either. So
Yeah.
I mean, I was a nerd.
Me too.
I was.
too.
Believe
Me
it or
too.
not, I was a nerd.
Still am. Loud and proud.
I was. The funny thing, though, is that I was convincing as an actor, and I told everyone that I was 315 years old, and that I was a vampire, and that I just flew in from Transylvania, and my arms were tired.
That part. It's that part. I would have like if your arms are tired. That's like you just just one last little detail is gonna sell it.
Right?
That one
Exactly. But people believed it. But the problem was that I attended a high school that was very sports centered, and I was the odd theater kid who told people he was a 315-year-old vampire. And then because of me at the nerd table, there was someone who would dress up in Star Trek uniforms every day, and there was a pagan, and there was a werecat, and there was the classic witch. I mean, we were the weird kids, but everyone knew us. The high school did not like me in particular for that very reason. He said that I was a leader, and they needed to make an example. Like that. Like that.
wow. Someone's got a call. Yeah, I was also in that group. I was a theater kid, but I was voted most likely to be a poet, and people generally left me alone. I didn't get a lot of the bullying that you see in these movies at all. The people generally just kind of, I did my thing, I did my theater, and got left alone for the most part, fortunately.
I had the she's all that moment, guys. It was, I know you may not believe it now because I look like I just rolled out of bed. But
beautiful.
You always look beautiful, Courtney.
Thank you. But I went to one school system from like first grade into my junior year of high school. And I was very much a tomboy when I was little, and I was rough and tough, and I liked rolling around in the dirt and doing all the things. And then as I came into, teenage years, I wanted to be more girly. I felt more girly, but trying to express that in front of these people that only knew me from when I was 6 and rolled around in dirt wasn't working. And then it turns out that we were moving. So I moved, and I was given the choice of staying at the high school that I was at for the last 2 years or moving to the new high school. So I chose to move to the new high school. And I remember waking up 2 hours early my first day of school, and I had long hair, and I flat ironed it because it was the early 2000s. It was stick straight. I had dark black eyeliner on. I got like little shirt with the little tie. My jeans didn't even have a zipper on it. They were little ties. I was like, it was the best. I looked in the mirror. I thought, this is the best thing that I've ever done. And I walked into school, and it was like, who's the new girl? And I was like, yeah, that's me. And I became then I was less the nerd that people picked on, and I was still a theater kid, but theater was kind of cool at that point. But I made a lot of friends immediately. But I had that moment, which was really cool. But like it wasn't the same where like I took my glasses off and suddenly I was a whole different person, but it was kind of that moment.
Or took off your plastic dress and put on
Right.
some lipstick.
Just that little bit of I did do the eyelainer though. She did the eyeliner too.
You had
Mine was a little
eyeliner.
thicker. Mine was a
And
little thicker than that.
she also did her hair in the
Mhm.
curls. She had the
Mhm.
she had the curls, the beach
Yeah.
curl.
This
And
is about 10 years later, so if it was me, it would have been.
No, and I thought she looked, I mean, great both ways. But at first I thought they really did plain Jane her up a little too much in the very beginning.
She's earthy. Yeah. Well, you gotta have that. You gotta have that enough for a transition.
Yeah, having enough for a transition. I was so opposite. I was so shy in high school. I wasn't part of any group, which seems weird to anybody who knows me as an adult. There isn't a shy bone in my body, but I was invisible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. In these movies, I think these movies are so fun. I mean, if you watch Midnight Offerings or some of the ones that came off of Carrie, they're very clearly made for TV, which a lot of these teen movies are. They're just made for TV for teens to watch. This one, not so much. And I think that I think it's a pretty well done mainstream movie. I wish more pagans would see it. I really do. Whether you like the campiness or the saccharine, whatever it is, I was waiting to see Richard-Lael's expression. Do that again. There you go. I think that, the key thing that so many pagans and witches look for in movies is to find themselves, to see themselves, that representation. And I really think this is one of the best ones because, the magic part of it, of her discovering, someone said earlier, it was upsetting that they didn't tell her about her magic. And that's often the case in these movies. The magic comes by accident. The magic comes, suddenly. Sabrina didn't know about her magic until it showed up. You don't always know about it. So it's pretty common, but
and that's true though. I think even as a witch myself, I didn't know. I knew things. I didn't know how I knew things. I wouldn't have called myself a witch. I just thought, oh, I know things that everybody else knows. I put myself in that same basket.
And so, her discovering these things about herself, in Hollywood films is allegorical for a girl's coming of age. So, you could take this film and say, oh, this is another girl's coming of age. She's discovering herself. She's becoming a woman. And yes, in Carrie's case, and the Teen Witch and all these movies that really focus on the magic, that's pretty much what they are boiled down to. But this movie does more than that. This movie has the environmental statement. It also has the world, the witchcraft world or the pagan world, which I think is what makes it different. How I feel about the prophecy part of it, adding the Harry Potter Horcrux piece into it is a little that's I think my least favorite part of this, honestly. I think I would have liked it better if she wasn't going to fulfill a prophecy in the same way. I think that was my least favorite poignant part of it, but I think it has a little bit more to offer than most of the teenage movies that are just about girls coming of age.
And I have to say, their magic was practical magic. But it was practical. I mean, she can light candles with her, like this, and then the girl Rhea can like move things with her mind with the power of Jedi. That's
tree stumps.
Were you waiting for Yoda? You were waiting for Yoda, weren't you?
Absolutely.
Tabitha just said the end of the movie was a bit abrupt. I was left asking where the rest of it was. Me too. And I immediately looked up if there was a sequel because I really want one. And there is not. And I was disappointed and sad.
And I am grateful.
Well, and then here I am looking, and when she accepts her position, she says, I want to help at the end. And then she's kissing her boyfriend. My brain goes, I wonder if he's going to be, he knows, or I wonder if he's going to be the father of the savior of the planet, the Messiah, or is it going to be somebody else?
But see, I would love that as a sequel. I would love for it to be the same actors, for it to skip ahead like 10 or so years and have them be married and be parents.
Well, you mean like now?
Right. Yeah, I want a today sequel. And have it be like them raising their baby or the baby being born or whatever, and like waiting to see what the baby's gonna do. Like,
and the twist is that he turns out to be Damien.
Maybe I'll take the twist. That's fine.
No. That the little girl with the bad wig is supposedly the vision of the Messiah girl. So So there's that.
So then we'll get another terrible wig, and I will eat my popcorn and cry and wish for love, and then cancel my wish before I accidentally manifest it.
And we could also, we as witches can actually summon Betty White to play that role. I mean, you know, we'll just say Betty White could
be baby Betty White. Yes. For a minute, I thought the kids seemed too grown up for their age, just mature and stuff. But then I thought back, and they're really not. We thought we were that grown up, and we talked that grown up, and all those things. So I took that back.
Yeah, I think the young men in the Covenant seemed a little bit. They were too old for the high school age.
I love that movie.
No. The Covenant. I didn't mind that movie, right?
In this movie, I will say that the high school age, they may have been a little older than high school, but it was still, they were believable that they were in high school. I went, okay, I don't mind it.
You didn't mind it. Wait, that's my line.
I have a quote, guys, before we wrap up. So I don't even remember the context of this, but I wrote it down with fervor, whatever the word is, because I can't think. But it was the boyfriend said to Rhea, "Are you abducting me with your magical powers?" And I was like it's the acceptance for me. It's the like making it a joke for me that like you just imagine being a high school kid, no matter how nerdy or how much of the weird one you are, and your girlfriend moves rocks or tree stumps around in the woods. Everything's fine. We're very calm about that. And then you're just gonna the next minute you're just, I don't know, is it you love her so much or you're so grateful to have a girlfriend that we're just not going to rock the boat at all, but you're just going to go into making a joke about it.
It was perfect.
I loved it.
Perfect.
I was there for it.
Yeah, I wrote down a couple quotes. I'm trying to find.
The hoe bag makeover was the other one.
That was a good. Her friend had a couple good ones.
Yeah.
But she wasn't a whole bag. She could have gone to like a whole mini skirt and low cut. She didn't.
No, she didn't do. I wrote down
whole bag at most, half a, not even.
Right before she said that, as I was writing the Sandra D moment down on my paper, then she was like, "Oh, look at you and your whole bag makeover," or whatever. And I was like, "Oh, but she didn't do like the leather pants or like, you know."
But I have to tell you, we don't use hoe bag anymore. It's really a bad term. Now, women who do that sort of thing are now more mobile. We call them prostitutes.
My heart stopped for a second. My heart stopped that like I actually said something, and then that.
I need to bring my husband in with a snare drum to do rim shots throughout the whole show.
I need a tote bag.
The same thing, Patti. Boom, boom. Oh my goodness! I rolled my eyes so much I saw my brain.
We're gonna need a prostitute tote bag now too, I think. to carry our Black Phillips around in.
Got it. Oh my goodness. So what was the part, Courtney? I know we saw the lovely picture of you bawling your eyes out, and we discussed before the show that I was also bawling my eyes out. So what made you bawl your eyes out? You too, Patti?
Oh yeah.
I'm curious, like, because mine come sporadically throughout the whole thing. So depending on the scene, because I'm a diehard romantic and a mom and all the things. What hit you? What Hallmark moments hit you the most?
For me, it was the accident scene. It was watching her in shock. I was holding my breath when she took the I know she healed herself and that was the thing, but then I thought like he's too far gone. She's not gonna be able to do it. She took the glass out of his throat and she just healed him. And then she and it was like the eye contact with everybody and everybody just sat still and watched her do it and then like watched her walk away. And then it was the boyfriend saying, everybody heard about the accident, or I forget if it was him saying that, or someone said, we know you hurt, we know you healed them, or we know you helped them, or like whatever it was. And then that scene at the end, and I was just like, I went from holding my breath and like being so tense and nervous after like being so embarrassed for everyone in the beginning of the movie, and then it was just a flood of emotions came out my eyeballs, and I felt the love, and I, you know,
and you need love to do healing, you know.
I have love for things other than romantic partners.
No, it said that was the movie. She says at the end, she goes, I felt the love. It was she now gets it.
Yeah. Right. But like, that's how I practice. So this is a thing. This was a very, I think I was really connected to this movie, especially because this is how I feel like I practice my magic, is with that energy. Like, that's the main focus of what I do for work. I don't do a lot of spells. I don't do a lot of anything else. It comes from in here, and I feel my energy, and I work my energy, and I use my energy to do things. So watching a movie about like her doing the same thing when she was with the grandmother and closed her eyes, and the grandmother said, like, if you could make a wave, how would you do it? And then the water moves, and she said, oh, haha, did the water move? And the grandmother says no. And I'm like, I could feel it, like, because I've not made water move, but like, that's how I do things, is I funnel my energy out. So it was like, I could feel it. I think that's what rocked my soul so hard during the accident scene, was I could feel that transfer of energy as she was doing that, in the same way that like I've thought about transferring my energy. So it was just like very, I don't know, it was very powerful to watch it not be wand waving or burning things or, you know, whatever else. Not that any of that is less valid, just this was more me.
Okay. Well, I burn and I wand and I do everything, but it is the love, the energy that is the main ingredient in anything. I teach that in school. That is the ingredient. So that was beautiful, with or without wand waving and burns.
Yeah, and please, I don't mean to say that, like, I'm not making light of that at all. Just that's not, to see someone practice the way that I practice was very validating.
It's beautiful. Yeah, we didn't take it as such. So, all right. Well, before we go, everybody check in with anything you have coming up, anything you want to say, anything like that. Who wants to go first? Richard-Lael.
I will be in Atlanta on the 2nd of, I can't remember. It's a debauchery ball.
September.
It's on
September.
The 2nd of September, I'll be in Atlanta. I'll be in Youngstown, Ohio in October. And I am moving to New Orleans next week.
Yay.
So exciting.
That is amazing. Courtney.
That's me. So I am going to be streaming after this at about 10:30. One of our favorite ghost games got an update. It's going to be terrifying. There was already crying today. Now there's going to be screaming. So if you want to watch and play along and scare me with my sound alerts, that will be on Twitch at 10:30. You can find me at The Themes on Twitch, or twitch.tv/TheThemes. So that'll be a very short time from now. I also just wanted to say thank you to Lisa Morton, who I got to hang out with this weekend in Salem, and it was a great time. She had never been to Salem before, so I got to squire her about and take her around and show her Salem. And seeing it through her eyes was really, really awesome, and she's a really nice lady. So I'm really glad I got to meet her. So thank you for coming to Salem and for entrusting me for your tour guide needs.
Beautiful. Thank you.
That's what I
got. Heather.
Well, I don't have anything planned at the moment. I just got back from Mystic South. We ended on Sunday evening, so I'm still recovering. I'm getting like 12 hours of sleep a night. Hopefully I'll be back on my feet and fully recovered by next week. I am on the board, so I do help plan it. So it's long days. Wonderful, wonderful event. Lots of positive feedback we've been getting. And my Black Phillip was there, and if you look at my social medias, you'll see all the antics he was up to. He was quite the socialite there, getting pictures with tons and tons of people. He even got out of the dance floor Saturday night. That was fun.
He was being a goat prostitute.
He was. He was all over the place. So if you look at my socials, you can see all the places. I'll put some up on our maybe on our Witch Movie Coven Facebook page as well, so you can see all the stuff he was up to. So I will not be doing any shows or anything. I hope to meet Richard-Lael in September somehow, some way, make that happen. And I otherwise will be here in Atlanta working with my wonderful witchy authors and writing articles as usual. So if you want to see what I'm up to, check out my website, check out my socials. I'm always posting stuff there, and please reach out and say hello. I love that too. What movies haven't I seen yet? People are always trying to challenge me, so please send stuff because I love watching new movies. So witchy or not.
That's good. I bet you're hard to trick or hard to challenge.
There's a lot of movies out there I haven't seen. What was that?
Witchy movies?
Witchy movies, some of the recent ones, but absolutely some European. You never know. And I love watching movies, and so go ahead, give me something to watch.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, I am going to be in August 11th through 14th in New Orleans visiting Richard-Lael. I'm going to be doing Hex Fest. Lots of people doing lots of fun things. I'm actually teaching 3 different workshops and a panel. And then later in the month, I'll be at Michigan Paracon, way up in Sault Ste. Marie. Again, a really great, huge paranormal convention, one of the big ones that I love. Come September, I'm going to be doing now a witchy weekend in Albuquerque, New Mexico. My first time there, so I'm going to get lost in Albuquerque. And then I will be at Massachusetts Paracon in 28th through October 2nd and visiting Courtney, I hope.
Wow.
For sure. I will be stalking you outside the
and
car
then
or inside.
Yes, we'll stalk away. Come visit, sit with me. And then all hell breaks loose in October. I'll be in Orange County Paracon, Vulture City Paracon, doing a Ghost Hunter Girl things with Natalie from Paraflix in Texas somewhere, Endless Night Vampire Ball back in New Orleans, visiting Richard-Lael Lillard, because I love that you're moving there, because wherever you've been living, I don't visit. Wherever you're moving now, I go all the time. So it's hard to keep up with me. I can't do it. So check out my website as well, pattinegri.com. You could get to all my correct social medias from there too, because there's some weird ones out there, and all sorts of things. Like sign up for our newsletter. You guys like us and follow us. And if you like this, tell your friends, invite them, because it means the world to us that you do. And we thank you, and we thank your comments. You guys are brilliant. You're funny. We're reading them as we go, the ones that get posted and not. So, have you ever seen the new Carrie Fisher movie and the Wonder? Heather, that's for you.
Yeah, no, I have not seen it yet. That one is on my list, so I will get back to you. Maybe we'll talk about it here. There's a few new ones that we need to talk about, but I have not seen that one yet.
Okay, so next week we actually talked in advance. What
Yay
we're
for us!
this week? Yay! Next week is American Horror Story Coven.
Yes,
So
get ready for that.
get on your TV, get your streamers out. Where's my wand?
Something very different than this week, but around the same period and more common. So very exciting. Oh, we have to do wands. That's right.
Yes, we do. And I'm looking for my wand and I can't find it. So I'm going to use my broom. I'm going to use my broom. So, all right, let's go back to the last keepers. Wands up or wands down? Up, up, up.
Richard-Lael's wand isn't even on the screen.
It's so far down, you can't even see it.
It's in the back of his head with his eyeballs.
Oh, Richard-Lael, we've seen worse than this one. Come on.
I like when they're bad and campy, and I love when they're in the 70s, and I love those. This was wholesome and good, and it lacked the Aristotelian sense of whatever. It was just
my favorite. Can I just, for Richard-Lael, 1 second? He sent me a message and said, "You might really like it, but I do not." And I said, in response, after I started watching it, "It's so cringy and ridiculous." So you're absolutely right. I love it.
Okay, so it looks like everybody is wands up except for Mary Jane and Richard-Lael. Two of my also favorite people, but Bah hum.
There was somebody else said that it was. Let me go back through here and look. There was one. Robert Hicks says neutral up. Cindy says up. Wait, I think it was Haley who said it was boring and predictable. I think
It was predictable.
Haley gave a thumbs up. I'm looking at it right there. You try to bring people to the dark side.
I can't remember who said it.
One's up. All right.
Predictable doesn't mean one's down. It was predictable, and it was deliciously predictable.
And on that note, we are running late. We have one more thing to do. So everybody turn up your volume from wherever in the world you are. 1, 2, 3.